I can't leave Module 2 working with risk without raising your attention to the concept of risk formulation, something that should systematically emerge out of the analysis and the evaluation of the information that we build up in a risk assessment. This is an idea adapted from the more common concept used by psychologists, that of formulation or problem formulation. Essentially, it is about making sense of the complex information that we've put together around a person and the whole context of their experience. It can be thought of as shaping the assessment into a coherent management plan. All the time, though, you need to be aware that risk is dynamically changing. We're attempting to balance the risk factors and the protective factors that I previously mentioned in videos across this module. Despite the caution always raised about the idea of prediction, we are still making some judgments about the foreseeable risk to inform our risk decisions. As far as is possible, we're trying to identify factors that could increase a specific risk and also those that could help to mitigate or lower the risk. We don't have a crystal ball, and we mustn't be suggesting that we have 100% accuracy in our predictions. But we can confidently offer our thoughts about the context in which a person's risk may elevate or decrease based on our assumptions from the assessment information. It's a kind of showing the workings out, if I can put it into a mathematical analogy that most of us may remember, even if it is the dim, distant past of our school days. The formulation is about asking why questions in particular. And here's a list of important ones just to be keeping in mind. How serious is the risk? Is the risk specific or general? How immediate is the risk? How volatile is the risk? Are circumstances likely to arise that will increase the risk? And what type of management could best reduce the risk? These are a series of questions that we need to be thinking about, searching to manage that information that's come through the risk assessment. Again, psychologists will use variations on the theme of this 5 Ps. I've actually heard some talk about the 3 Ps, the 4 Ps, but I'm going to focus your attention around the 5 Ps. As outlined on this slide, this is what they use in order to systematically develop their formulation. Presenting problems are what we see or experience. Predisposing factors are what the person may be susceptible to. Precipitating factors are possible causes or triggers. Perpetuating factors are what maintains the behavior. And protective factors are positive attributes or positive conditions around the person. If I apply these very briefly to the Sabrina case example that you saw in relation to the last video presentation, what I would suggest is that the presenting problems are anxious and depressive behaviors with expressions of suicidal thinking. The predisposing factors are a history of suicide attempts in response to losing personal control of the situation, particularly where she was being admitted to hospital under Section of the Mental Health Act. The precipitating factors are a history of physical and sexual abuse. The perpetuating factors are the occasional contact being made directly to her from her historical abuser. And the protective factors are primarily her care for her children, her thinking about the importance of her children. And within that, there's also a secondary focus about helping her to develop a personal strengths assessment. Now, this is not a complete picture, but you get the idea as to how this structure prompts the thinking and the organising of complex assessment information. Before we draw Module 2 to a close, I'd like you to read the PDF worksheet entitled Risk Formulation Worksheet. You'll find it in the resources associated with this module. Then complete the 2 exercises outlined here on the slide, but you'll also find them at the end of that worksheet. Firstly, I'd like you to apply the 5 P's approach to a person and their situation that you're currently working with. And then give some thought as to how you can bring the ideas of risk formulation into your working with risk practice, particularly in some of the team meetings that you may attend.